It's one I was standing on stage at Stanford in 2005. I told the graduates something I learned the hard way: your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Today, that advice is more urgent than ever. We are standing at the edge of a new era. AI, automation, global shifts. If you don't take action now, by 2026 you won't just be behind, you'll be erased. I'm not here to inspire you with pretty words. I'm here to show you the darkest lessons, the truths that most people are too afraid to face. These are the 10 things you must do before 2026 if you want to survive, if you want to matter, and if you want power. You know, most people wake up every morning as if they have unlimited days to live. They go to work, complain, scroll through meaningless distractions, and postpone their real dreams for someday. But here's the brutal truth: someday doesn't exist. Life isn't a rehearsal, this is it. Every tick of the clock is one step closer to the end. And if you're not aware of that, you're wasting the only resource you'll never get back: time. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I had to look at my own mortality in the face. I had to ask myself one single question every day: if this were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? And if the answer was no too many days in a row, I knew something had to change. That wasn't philosophy, that was survival. The problem with most people is not that they don't know what to do. The problem is that they think they have forever to do it. They think they can wait until the timing is perfect, until the stars align, until they feel ready. But by the time you feel ready, life has already passed you by. Mortality isn't something to fear. It's the fuel for urgency. It's the reminder that you cannot afford to waste another year, another month, another week doing something that doesn't set your soul on fire. If you don't face death every single day, you end up living someone else's life. You chase someone else's dreams, work for someone else's company, build someone else's empire. And one day, you wake up realizing you never truly lived your own. That's the tragedy of ignoring mortality. You think you're playing it safe, but really you're gambling everything and losing. Imagine this for a moment. The doctor tells you that you only have 12 months left. Suddenly, all the excuses vanish. Suddenly, the opinion of others doesn't matter anymore. Suddenly, you stop scrolling, stop delaying, stop waiting for permission. You start acting. You start cutting the unnecessary out of your life. Like a surgeon cutting out a tumor. You realize how many things don't matter and how few things do. That clarity, that fire, that urgency, you don't need a diagnosis to live with it. You need perspective. And perspective comes when you face mortality, not once, not twice, but every single morning. When you wake up tomorrow, I want you to imagine that it's your last day on earth. What would you change? Who would you call? What would you stop doing? What would you finally start doing? That's your answer. That's where your life is waiting for you. Because here's the dark lesson. Life doesn't hand you second chances. If you waste today, you don't get it back. If you waste a year, it's gone forever. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this because once you truly internalize that death is not far away, you start to live in a way most people never will. You start to say no to mediocrity. You start to say yes to risk, to love, to building, to creating, to fighting for something bigger than yourself. You stop chasing comfort and start chasing impact. Most people live as if they're immortal. But the people who change the world, they're the ones who know they're not. That's why they act with urgency. That's why they refuse to waste time on meaningless work. That's why they live fully, even if their time is short. The hardest thing you will ever face in life isn't the world outside. It isn't competition, or money, or even failure. The hardest thing you will face is yourself, the old version of you. The version that clings to safety, routine, and comfort. The version that tells you, don't risk it, don't change, stay the same. That version of you will do everything in its power to keep you small, to keep you ordinary, to keep you invisible. And if you don't destroy it, it will destroy you. I know this because I had to go through it myself. When I was fired from Apple, the very company I built, the old me wanted to collapse. The old me wanted to drown in bitterness and blame the world. But that version of me had to die, or I would have been finished. I had to reinvent myself. I had to step into the unknown, start from scratch, and embrace the pain of transformation. And that's when I created NXT. That's when Pixar became a revolution. And eventually, that's how Apple was reborn. Reinvention doesn't happen when things are easy. Reinvention happens when the old you is no longer capable of carrying you forward. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they refuse to kill their old selves. They refuse to let go of outdated beliefs, habits, and identities. They cling to who they were instead of becoming who they must be. You can't step into 2026 with the same mindset you had in 2016. The world has already changed. Technology has changed. Opportunities have changed. And if you're still dragging around your old fears, your old excuses, your old patterns, you're already behind. Think about a snake. It sheds its skin to survive because the old skin cannot stretch to fit its growth. If it doesn't shed, it dies. Humans are no different. Every stage of growth demands a shedding. Shedding of fear, shedding of comfort, shedding of ego. The old version of you was designed to survive the past, but the future requires someone new, someone braver, someone sharper, someone willing to burn the past if it means building something greater. Destroying the old you isn't pretty. It's not inspirational. It's brutal. It means admitting that your habits are weak. It means confronting your excuses. It means taking responsibility for every wasted hour, every missed chance, every lazy choice. And it means being ruthless enough to say, that version of me is not coming with me into the future. And here's the dark truth: destruction is necessary for creation. You cannot create a stronger, more powerful version of yourself without destroying the weaker one. You cannot hold on to who you were yesterday and expect to become who you need to be tomorrow. One of them has to go, and it won't go quietly. The old you will resist. It will whisper in your ear, telling you to stay comfortable, to delay, to protect yourself. But that voice is not your friend. That voice is the enemy. Ask yourself this: what habits, what mindsets, what parts of yourself must you kill before 2026? What version of you must be buried so that the new one can rise? This isn't a question of preference. It's a question of survival. Because if you don't choose to destroy the old you, the world will do it for you. And when that happens, it won't be on your terms. Most people are obsessed with quick wins. They want success to come overnight, recognition to come instantly, and rewards to show up without the years of sacrifice. But real power doesn't work that way. Power belongs to those who can delay gratification, those who can see 10 steps ahead while everyone else is blinded by the moment. The difference between the powerful and the powerless is simple: the powerful play the long game. When I returned to Apple in 1997, the company was weeks away from bankruptcy. If I wanted to look good in the short term, I would have cut corners, made safe products, and chased trends. But that would have killed Apple. Instead, I took the harder path. I simplified the product line, killed projects that weren't essential, and focused on what really mattered: design, innovation, and experience. It didn't pay off in a year. It didn't pay off in 2. But over time, the results were undeniable. iMac, iPod, iPhone, iPad. That wasn't luck. That was long-term vision, executed with relentless patience. The reason most people never build anything that lasts is that they're addicted to immediate results. They want to see the scoreboard change right away, and when it doesn't, they quit. But the long game requires a different mindset. You have to be willing to look foolish in the short term to dominate in the long term. You have to say no to distractions, no to applause, no to the temptation of being relevant for a moment, in exchange for building something that will matter for decades. Think about a chess player. The amateurs obsess over the next move. The masters think 10 moves ahead. They sacrifice a piece today to win the game tomorrow. That's what power looks like. It's not about looking strong today. It's about becoming unstoppable tomorrow. The long game is lonely because while everyone else is chasing dopamine and clapping for each other's quick wins, you're building in silence. You're saying no to parties, no to pointless opportunities, no to trends that don't matter. You're investing your energy into what compounds. Knowledge compounds, skills compound, relationships compound, discipline compounds. But only if you give them time. Only if you're patient enough to endure the stretch where nothing seems to be happening. And this is where most people give up. They can't handle the silence. They can't handle the years where no one sees them, no one applauds them, and no one validates them. But those who endure, they come out the other side with an advantage that no one can compete with. That's why the long game creates power. Because once it compounds, it looks like you became an overnight success. But in reality, you were building for years in the shadows while everyone else was distracted. The dark truth is, if you don't play the long game, you'll always be a pawn in someone else's. You'll work for their company, chase their deadlines, and build their vision because you weren't patient enough to build your own. The world belongs to the ones who can think in decades, not days. And when you start to think like that, everything changes. You stop rushing. You stop needing validation. You stop being desperate. Instead, you become dangerous. Because you see what no one else can see. The future. So ask yourself, are you sacrificing your future for the comfort of today? Are you chasing cheap rewards instead of building something real? Are you playing checkers when you should be playing chess? The long game isn't easy. It demands sacrifice. It demands patience. It demands that you delay the feeling of success until the foundation is unshakable. But once you commit to it, once you start thinking like that, you put yourself in a league most people will never reach. Most people live their lives chasing applause. They want recognition, awards, and likes. They want people to notice them today. But here's the truth: applause fades. People forget. What you build today will either disappear tomorrow, or it will echo long after you're gone. The question you have to ask yourself is simple. Are you building something temporary? Or are you building something eternal? When I was creating Apple, I wasn't thinking about how to make quick money. I wasn't thinking about how to impress Wall Street or win headlines. I was thinking about how to put a dent in the universe. That's why I obsessed over design, over simplicity, over creating something people didn't just use, but fell in love with. Because I knew that if you build something truly meaningful, it will outlive you. The iPhone is not just a device. It's an idea, a way of thinking, a shift in how humanity connects. That's legacy. The dark truth is that most people never build anything that lasts because they are too busy chasing comfort. They take jobs they don't care about. They create projects with no soul. They invest their time in things that won't matter even 5 years from now. And then they wonder why life feels empty. It's because deep down, they know they are not creating anything that will stand the test of time. Legacy doesn't mean building a company worth billions. Legacy can be raising a family with values that carry forward for generations. Legacy can be writing a book that still inspires people a century later. Legacy can be creating art, building systems, or even shaping habits that ripple through the lives of others. The scale doesn't matter. What matters is impact. What matters is whether you left behind something that can't be erased the moment you're gone. Building something that outlives you requires a shift in thinking. It requires asking yourself, if I were gone tomorrow, what would still exist because of me? What project, what contribution, what piece of myself would continue to move forward in the world? Most people are too afraid to confront that question because the answer reveals that they're building nothing but distractions, and distractions don't leave legacies. They vanish with you. The reason I cared so much about detail, the reason I obsessed over things that seemed small, was because I wasn't building for the present moment. I was building for the future. I wanted Apple to be a philosophy as much as a company. I wanted people decades from now to still feel that sense of wonder when they touched what we created. That's the kind of thinking you need to survive beyond your own lifetime. And let's be honest, building something that outlives you isn't easy. It's harder than chasing applause. It requires sacrifice. It requires saying no to quick wins, saying no to shortcuts, saying no to anything that dilutes the integrity of what you're creating. Because the moment you compromise for convenience, the moment you sell out for speed, you've traded legacy for a paycheck. And a paycheck will vanish, but a legacy is permanent. Here's the perspective shift you need. Stop thinking about success in terms of this week, this year, even this decade. Start thinking in centuries. Start asking yourself what seeds you are planting today that will grow into trees long after you're gone. The world doesn't remember people who chased comfort. The world remembers people who built, people who risked, people who dared to create something so powerful it couldn't be ignored. You don't need to be a billionaire. You don't need to be famous. But you do need to create with intention. You do need to build with vision. You do need to focus not on the applause of today, but on the impact of tomorrow. Because when everything else fades, the money, the fame, the opinions, what remains is what you built. And if you build something strong enough, meaningful enough, alive enough, then even when you're gone, you won't really be gone. When I look back at my life, I don't remember the trophies, the headlines, or the applause. I remember the moments I stood at a crossroads, when I had to face my own mortality, when I had to destroy the weaker version of myself, when I had to play the long game while everyone else demanded shortcuts, and when I had to decide whether I was building something temporary or something eternal. Those moments are what defined me, and they will define you too. By 2026, the world will not look the same. Technology will change, industries will collapse, and opportunities will shift. But the question is not what the world will look like. The question is what you will look like. Will you still be clinging to old habits? Will you still be living someone else's life? Or will you have the courage to face death every day? Reinvent yourself without fear. Build patiently for the long term, and create something that will outlive you. You don't get unlimited chances. You don't get infinite time. You get this life, this moment, this chance, and the choices you make right now will echo far beyond 2026. They will decide whether you leave this world unnoticed or whether you leave behind something that cannot be erased. The future doesn't belong to those who wait. The future belongs to those who act. So the question you have to answer is simple. Are you ready to act?